Grand Rising, Grand Rising. Welcome, welcome to Soulful Solutions. And my name is Dr. Debbie Green. It's so wonderful seeing you today. Before we get started, I want to ask you something. How did you sleep last night? Are you okay? Is everything working out in your life? Or are you battling? Do you find yourself depressed or heavy laden at times? Sometimes we go through so many changes in this life. And some things are out of our control and some things are in our control. We have to be very mindful of the choices that we make, the people that we're around. We even got to be mindful of what type of thoughts that we keep in our mind from day to day. Sometimes the mind will drift all the way back to the past amongst those areas of disruption or where things seem to be very out of control, which makes us feel very uncomfortable. But just know this today that wherever you find yourself, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, that you don't have to stay in a place of pain. Today's show is a very special show. I have a wonderful guest on that turned pain into victory. One thing about life is it'll teach you many, many things, but we have to want to learn. A lot of times we don't want to face adversity. We don't want to face pain. We don't want to face anything. We just want to pull the covers up above our head and stay in the room and close the blinds, cut the phone off. But then guess what? Life still goes on. There's a place in life you have to ask yourself, what am I doing for myself today? Out of 24 hours of a day, how many choices have I made just for me? Just for me to feel good, me to, acknowledge breath that's in my body. Well, I suggest you do that. One thing about orientation, and I'd say this very often, one should orientate when you get up in the morning. What is your mind saying to you? What's your heart feeling? What's your spirit? What kind of signs is your body giving to you? A lot of times we just get up and we rush into our day, not even acknowledging the being, the self. So try that sometimes. And when you do that, if you feel uncomfortable, adjust. There's no such thing as a bad day. I call it an adjustment day. Things have to be adjusted. Just like when you're sleeping at night, if you get uncomfortable, what do? You move and you get in a more comfortable position. That is the way life is. Awake or asleep, it is the same way. So just be conscious of your life patterns. Be conscious of what you feel, what you think. Whatever your thoughts is going to be your reality. So if you wake up feeling the worst, there's a good chance throughout the day you're going to feel the same way. And you may say, well, I can't control these thoughts. They keep happening over and over and over. Well, I'll tell you what. There's this thing that I give on my clients because I am a professional therapist as well as a counselor, life coach on the outside in business. It's the 45-second rule. The 45-second rule clearly says you take 45 seconds, which is a good amount of time, to shift from a negative thought to a positive thought. You have to do it immediately. Don't wait until you're dwelling on, because then conscious has already made a decision. And decision is made with or without your permission, just so you know. Your subconscious mind doesn't have a area of rationale to say, oh, wait a minute, they didn't mean that. They meant this. No, it doesn't have logic. The brain has to be driven just like a car. You have to have a direction and you have to know where you're going. So just a little information there, and I hope you use that and take your time in life. Don't feel anxious and don't feel rushed because time is all we have. It is all we have. Again, thank you so much for coming to see us and sit with us today. I'm going to actually introduce my guest. Her name is Jennine Bradford-Lee, and she wrote a wonderful book. It's called Against All Odds. And I find that title very intriguing, but most of all, that's something we deal with each and every day. But I want to introduce her to you, if I can. There you are. Okay, I got you. Good
Hello.
morning, Jennine. How are you?
Good morning, Dr. Green. How are you?
I am wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence today. I really appreciate that. Soulful Solution, we've been and on the female solution, we've been on here for a while. We just really just encouraging everyone because right now people are going through so very much and we need to stay encouraged. Everyone know that it's okay
Yes.
feel and go through change. We don't let those changes tear us down, on the longevity. We need to build up. So people should use their pain for purpose. And you did that. How did you use your pain for purpose?
I actually decided to
Can
be
you hear
self.
me?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Yes. I actually decided to
Yes,
be
a
self.
little interruption. Okay.
How
I
about
think
now?
it's an interruption in the audible. Okay, you.
Is it okay now?
Yes. Is
Okay.
okay, you can speak whenever you're ready.
Okay. I actually decided to turn my pain into purpose. I decided to put myself first for once and be selfish because I started to realize all the negative effects that my past trauma was coming into my present life with myself as well as my family and my children.
Hmm. Okay. I know to ask extensive actions of those will probably take a period of time. So I want to know, like, when did you decide to not be a victim?
I decided to not be no longer a victim probably about 2017. Um, I started to see a lot of anger, built up anger inside of me. And certain things will trigger it that I didn't even know. I didn't even know I had certain triggers. And I started to realize that I was no longer
Right.
able to hide my pain and my trauma. I will always say mask on, mask off. So I was so well put together on the outside, but in the inside, I was really hurting and it was really ugly inside of me. But I made sure to keep my outside appearance top tier so that people wouldn't see actually what was going on in the inside of me. And when I realized that I was no longer able to hide what was going on in the inside of me, that's when I decided that I may need some help. And I started to think about, everything that we're
Okay.
taught growing up, therapy or counseling, that's for white people. You don't need that. Nothing's wrong with you. Sometimes our people
Mm,
don't tend to take mental health as serious as it should. So having all of that in my head sometimes would deter me away from actually trying to get the help that I know I needed. And after a while, I told myself I have to unlearn everything that I learned growing up so that I can be the best me for me and the best me for my children.
absolutely. I think that is wonderful that you did. One thing that you were suffering from is trauma. And trauma is something that is, it is very debilitating. Um, and it's very easy to not be a victim of it. So it is an ongoing thing because
Yeah.
it's in the subconscious of the mind. So when you got therapy, that's when it broke it up so you could deal with, because all of the words, the suppression, the the emotions that didn't actually get the opportunity to express at that time stayed
Yes.
dormant inside of you. That's the reason why you were triggered.
Ooh. Yes. Yes.
So I'm so glad that you got the therapy that you needed so that you could conquer those feelings. And it's not that you will ever never have them again, but now you know how to respond. You know how to
I
respond to that.
definitely agree with you. You have to, you think, oh, I'll do this therapy and I'll be okay. And that's not the case. That's not the case at all. So I like to be very honest and transparent about my journey and the way that and that's why I wrote the book in the raw aspect that I wrote it, because the things that I describe in my book are not, you can't sugarcoat those things. So I am very transparent and raw in the book and
Correct.
with my journey today, because I have to, sometimes I still struggle with the thoughts that occur in my mind or what noise to pay attention to, because it's so easy to get caught up in the negative noise, and it will sink you right back into that dark hole that fought your way mentally so hard to get out of. So when writing this book, it took me so long to actually decide to publish it, because of the thoughts in my head and the fear of what my family would think, and how they will probably not like me even more.
Mm.
So I had to change my thought process and again choose myself for once and think to myself, am I going to continue to be so broken to make others happy, or am I going to try to put myself first and try to heal and talk through this trauma so that I won't be so broken? So when I decided to do that, and all of the negative feedback and the backlash that I'm getting, it will put you back into a negative state.
Hmm.
I want to be very honest and transparent. It will, because it's coming from people who, you're born into a family where you imagine it a certain way, and these people are supposed to love you, and where you're not getting that, that's another trauma that you're experiencing. So the backlash that I received from them,
Right.
I had to start back therapy again. I had to enroll back in therapy to ensure that I don't go back down that dark hole. And I also had to keep in mind that it's not always
Exactly.
the family that you're born into. It's the family that you create, and God will put certain people in your life for specific reasons to be a family for you. And I have a lot of supportive people in my life that are there for me. So I have to pay more attention to that versus the family that I was born into and the backlashing that I'm receiving from them.
Mm. Well, that means you choose you today. That's one thing about the independence will. When we, as a person, chooses that no matter what, I am going to make a decision for myself.
Yes.
That's the bottom line. Then what you do, you literally draw a property line around yourself.
Yes.
And you
Bound.
have to trust the higher power. Like you said, you trust God, you trust yourself, you trust your decision. And even if there's turbulence, you even have to be brave for the turbulence,
Yes.
because there's so many gifts that are in people, especially books like these and things that people really put out into the world to help another human being, but because of the fear of not wanting everyone to know their story. And
Yes.
then, well, what would they think of me? You know,
Yes.
would somebody think less of me? Or, we have these thoughts that permeate our mind. At the end of the day, the main focus is, you know, how are you using, again, your pain to actually execute change, not just in your life, but also
Yes.
in another individual's life. And that's truly
Yes.
remarkable.
Yes.
That's truly remarkable. So let
Yes.
me ask you something. Um, if you could just give me a summary of,
Mhm.
not because I want everyone to buy this book, you know what I'm saying? I want them to read it so they can hear your passion in it. But like just a summary, because I know you keep long. So just like like some of the most intense areas
Okay. Yes, sure. Just about, growing up in the projects, Rockwell Gardens on the west side. And, just growing up in the projects alone, people can kind of have an idea of what that's like. Both of my parents abused drugs. So seeing that, you know, put, a lot of trauma inside of me, seeing drug dealers bang on the doors from credit being owed, seeing close family members, siblings, experience domestic violence or even beat on the women that they're, involved with. So not having the basic hygiene and necessities, things that you don't think you'll remember as a kid, and it comes up unexpectedly. Like, I remember knocking on doors for just to get a complete breakfast. So knocking on one door for eggs, knocking on another door for sausage, knocking on another door for bread. Things like that that you feel as though, you might be too young to remember that, but it comes up, and it's that embarrassment and guilt as well that comes up. And then I moved to the South Side with my older sister. And, I'm thinking this is going to be a better life. This is going to be a better life. I'm going to have the basic necessities like, soap, tissue, clothes. I'm going to have things like that. And I did, food, all of that. But for me came a price to pay with that, because the person that lived under the same roof as me, molesting me day in and day out. So I had the necessities, but my innocence was also being taken away from me. And so I'm trying to keep quiet because I am appreciative of the life that I have now, because I have the basic necessities. So as a child, I'm making that conscious decision. No one's going to believe me. If you do tell, you might end up in a worse situation than you are in now. You have food, you have the basic necessities, you're being taken care of. So as a child, imagine making that decision. No child should make that decision. But as a child, I had to make it because I knew, because of my environment, no one would believe me. So as a child, you try to go to different friends' homes to escape that. But then you wound up, you escape it to go, and you go to friends' homes and you end up in the same situation. So growing up, I felt like, is it something that I'm doing to make all of these men sexually assault me the way that they're doing? Do I have a paper on my head or a sticky note saying, touch me? So I grew up with that feeling, and I chose to put everything that happened to me so far in my head and pretend like it didn't happen. So as I became a young adult, I'm starting to notice that it's coming up. And then I also became a teenage mom. So that made me guilty as well, because in my mind, how can I even think about being sexually active when all my childhood, these horrible things happened to me? So I also was struggling with that as well. But I decided, when I had my daughter, I decided that her life was going to be different from mine. So I still decided to go away to school. I received my bachelor's, my master's, worked 3 jobs, honor society scholarships. So I'm showing people that, despite or in spite of your past, you still can get through it. You just have to continue to push through and tell yourself, the affirmations that you tell yourself and the thoughts, they really matter. I didn't think about that at first. I didn't think, oh, this will work. You know, what you tell yourself is
Yes.
really what will happen. That is so true. And when I went to therapy, my therapist told me to write down some thoughts, all my bad thoughts, write them down. And at the end of the day, put them in a container with a top on it and then just dump them. And you can call that the sinking ship, or burn all of your bad thoughts when you ball them up. In my mind, this is not going to work. But see, that's
Mm,
already that negative
I
thought, that
like
negative
that. I like
self-talk.
that.
I'm already in my mind thinking this is not going to work.
Correct.
What is writing on a piece of paper, balling it up? That's not going to work. But I told myself, you're in it. You decided to make this decision. You give it all you have, because what you want to stay in this position or you want to get better. That was my goal. So you want to stay how
Mm,
you are or get better. And I started to do it. And
come
after about
on.
2 weeks, it started to work. And I was so surprised that something that we would think is so simple will work, but it
Yeah.
actually started to work. And that's when I found out writing about your pain and your bad thoughts will really help you mentally.
Awesome. Awesome. That's a coping skill. Did you create that? Or just
The therapist that I was seeing told me about the sinking ship or burning of the bad thoughts. She introduced that to me, and I give that advice to everyone who I encounter. I've given it to my daughters. I've told people who've reached out to me, strangers who've read my book, and they're reaching out to me and they're thanking me for being brave enough and having the courage to put myself out there. And they're also stating that it gave them the courage to speak about what happened to them. And I had someone call me off of Facebook, and I usually don't answer, calls that I don't know the people. And she called and said, as soon as she closed my book, she called me and told me about her experience, about how she was assaulted and she's never told anyone. And that touched me. I was afraid, Dr. Debbie, because I didn't know
mm,
what to do with that. I didn't, some of the things that are happening, I didn't expect to happen from this. So when she called and disclosed that to me, I was kind of stuck and lost for words, but I got it together really quick. And I just listened to her and I asked how she feel. And I gave her that as well, what the therapist suggested for me, to write your thoughts down.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. That's an excellent tool. That's an excellent tool because it's mind over matter. That's exactly what when you put those negative thoughts in that jar, and it's when the mind something away, it takes an option away. That's
Yes.
an excellent tool to use.
Yes.
Excellent tool to use. And as you did that, you literally funneled through all of negative thoughts. So when you didn't have any, then you were replacing with positive thoughts as well. Because whenever
Yes.
you have to replace one back.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent therapist that you had. She wasn't surface, and that's a good thing. She just tools. A good thing. Always give tools up for.
Yeah.
And so
And
what that did allowed you to cope. It also allowed you to
yes.
So if I could everything from your children, how old if I can I ask how old they
Yes,
are?
of course. I have a 7-year-old son, a 12-year-old daughter, and an 18-year-old daughter.
All, so I'm proud of mommy, right?
Yes.
Yes, yes. Awesome, awesome. The 18-year-old, I know she grew up with you, so you growing up together literally. And
Exactly.
that's
Yes. I watched her grow and she watched me grow. Yes.
exactly. So you are her mentor, you are her everything.
Yes.
And that's awesome. Well, we have our executive producer producer in backstage. Get her on here.
Hi.
Forgive us, we have a little bit of technical difficulty this morning. Hello, Naima. Okay, okay. Can you hear us?
Amazing. Yes. Can you hear me?
Okay. We have a little technical difficulty. Is everything is kind of moving like in slow motion almost.
Mm,
Yes,
it's like the
yes,
internet is slow. Can you hear
I
me
can hear
okay?
you. I can hear
Yes.
you. I was just
Yeah.
chatting with Jennine about. We can't. It's just a delay for some reason. I don't know. It's a not for you, but just for everybody. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a delay on Janine's part, but we gonna keep going on because someone needs to hear this wonderful
Yes.
story
This
of
is a
triumph.
powerful story.
I'm excited about that. So are you? I see that you have MS behind your name. So are you in therapy? Are you
I
in
have a
some type
master's
of
degree in,
helping field yourself?
yes, I have a master's degree in human services and my bachelor's degree is in family and child studies.
Wow. Powerful. Powerful. I have a question because
Okay,
I
say
know
that
there.
one more time. You broke up a little bit.
I
Yeah.
have a bachelor's in family and child studies and a master's in human services.
Hold on 1 second. We have a delay. Hold on.
Okay. I think her system might be a little slow. Can you hear me okay, Janine?
Yes,
It's
I
a
can hear you
delay.
great.
Okay. Yeah, Dr. Debbie, I think your system might be a little slower also.
Yeah, you have masters and
Yes, because you're freezing a little
yeah.
bit. Yeah,
Hmm.
and you might want to close
I
any other
don't know.
windows you may have, just in case there's something else pulling on your internet. I'll make sure I close all of mine as well. But one thing I was going to ask Jennine, because I know a lot of people
I
have
don't
gone
know.
through life and they don't realize what they lived was abuse because that's what they were living. So, at what point in your childhood did you realize, everybody's not going through this? Everybody's not, dealing with drug addiction in the household or sexual violations in the household. This is not what a family should. I mean, at what point did you become conscious that this should not be happening? This is not what's happening in other households.
I will, I had certain different friends around the area I grew up in, and I will, kind of go to their homes sometimes and, just relax and spend time with their family. And I would just look at the dynamics. And, I understand nothing's perfect, no one's perfect, but I can just kind of tell by the surroundings that, this was not everything that was happening to me was not supposed to be happening to me just by looking at my friends group and their family dynamics. And uh, when I really realized it was a problem was I went outside with a friend. And I've never said this before. I went outside with a friend and I had a hickey on my neck.
Mm.
And she looked at me and she said, "What are you doing with a hickey?" And I'm like, "Oh, that's not a hickey." Previous from a week ago, the person that was abusing me told my family that it was a roach bite.
Oh my.
That's
So
interesting.
I just went with that story and said, "It's just a roach bite." And she looked at me. She knew I was lying
Oh wow.
just by how she looked at me. She knew I was lying, and I knew she knew I was lying. So
Mm.
a week after that, she asked me something. And I didn't answer. I just gave her a look. And then I asked her the same question she asked me: Did this person touch you when you spent the night at my house? She gave me the same look I gave her. So the look that we gave one another was the understanding that we had.
Mm.
And I reached out to her about 3-4 years ago. And I asked her, I just straight up asked her. And she told me the truth. And she said he had tried to, but she stopped him.
Mm.
And I cried that day because I didn't really like people spending the night at my home because of that. But because of all the freedom I had, my friends thought it was so cool to spend a night at my house. And I felt really guilty that she was even in that situation. but I was happy that she shut it down. But then at the same time, I asked myself, even when I tried to shut it down, why did it never work for me?
You couldn't get away from it because they
They
lived in your household.
Even when I tried to get away from it and go to other friends' homes, their family members touched me.
Oh,
So
no.
I'm thinking it must be something that I'm doing to have all these men assault me the way that they're assaulting me. So I grew up very damaged and thinking something was wrong with me.
Yes. So Dr. Debbie, I think that's what a lot of people who have undergone end up feeling like. It must be me. I'm doing something. It's my fault. That's where the trauma comes in, blaming yourself.
Yes. And then when you try to go to the authorities, I tried telling my family.
Right. It doesn't stop.
Yes.
I tried telling family members who didn't believe me or said I shouldn't have keep getting in the bed. And then I went to the authorities who's supposed to serve and protect. And they told me that unless I had an old pair of underwear, that was nothing they can do. They were so cold. So with those two reactions, wow, I went back into this depression state, and I felt as if it was happening to me all over again.
Oh my. Thank God for your therapist. Because most people don't get therapy. They just suffer through it, and then it manifests as some aberrant behavior because they can't get help.
Yep. Because growing up, people like us, we're taught that therapy is for white people, and we don't take mental health as serious as it should be. So I had to unlearn a lot of things so that I can get the help for myself.
Wow, that's powerful. But that sounds like that is one of the great purposes of your life, is to be able to be that beacon of light to those who need help, and because of cultural beliefs won't seek it out because there's a stigma about being under therapy, or that ridiculous thought, oh well, that's for those other people, but we're strong, we don't need therapists.
We don't need therapy.
Nothing to do with strength. Other people are here to help us, and that's what we're here for. But a whole lot of us grew up abused and made to feel like you're weak if you ask for help. Yes. You're supposed to just suffer through it, or
sweep it under the rug. What happened in this family
it's not happening. There are friends that I've had that I later found out had abuse in their households, and I always knew, I'd go to their house. I knew something was kind of off, but I didn't know what it was. And then later on, maybe they came out either with a book or a talk show or something, and they revealed that this was happening.
Yes.
But at the time, a child who is going through abuse is expected to shut up about it so that they don't damage the reputation of some prominent person in their family that's abusing them.
Yes. And unfortunately, because I chose to put myself first and write this book and speak about it, I'm still going through that right now. You threw the family under the bus.
Family business.
Yes. You made me look a certain way. I cannot make anyone look like anything.
Right. I just tell what happened. Now, if this is how you look, oh well. Pull up the mirror. That's all I'm doing.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very common reaction.
Well, it takes bravery. It takes courage. It takes courage. The independent will. You have a position, and when you and everyone is not going to steal their own victim. Not gotten what she needs, mentally or emotionally, to get her back to still in a victim mentality.
Yes.
And that's, the goal is to come out of that. Look a life being a victim.
Yes.
You don't live a life being a victim. You only you go through these changes over and over, and you just cycle in the same mindset, and it's deteriorating.
Yes.
So I know you have to go because you told me, unless I do apologize for the technical difficulty. I don't know where that's usually
It's beyond any of our
technical
control.
difficulty, but the energy that
It's beyond any of our control. You're okay.
Well, we do appreciate you taking time
right,
to.
right. But we would love to have a bit
Yes.
on.
I appreciate you guys for having me.
Yes. And also, tell us one more time again where people can get your book.
You
Yes.
can get Against All Odds. You can get it on Amazon, but I also have autographed copies at justjennine.com. That's JUSTJENNINE.com.
JustJennine.com. Get your
What is
autograph copy from her website, or just get a regular copy from Amazon. You get a copy.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you so much, Jennine.
Thank you so much for having me.
Look forward to having you back. And
Yes.
you're a powerful woman, and
Thank
you are a beacon of light for so many who may want to tell their story but are afraid to speak out. So
Yes.
you have freed a lot of people today.
Thank you so much.
Yes. We're going to take a break, Dr. Debbie, and maybe give you a chance to go out and come back in, see if your system reboots. Sometimes that's what it takes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nice to meet you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Looking forward to seeing you again. And
I'll talk to you guys.
autograph copy.
So Facebook,
My face. I'm on Facebook as
and
Jennine
YouTube,
Bradford-Lee,
so difficulty.
Bradford-Lee. Okay, on Facebook.
and then Instagram is just Jennine.
Just Jennine. Right. Well, I'm gonna go to your website and get my autographed copy of the book.
Thank you so much.
I'm looking forward to reading it.
Yeah, we got to shut this down. I don't know.
Well, let me take a break, and we'll be right back after this quick break. And if you're listening online,
Okay, so we're just gonna
515-605-9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak. We'll come right to you and get your thoughts. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com. Everything you need for your body needs is found in nature. So Susan Essentials doesn't do it any other way. Susan Essentials provides your employees and individuals access to over 20,000 nutritional products, and they are shipped direct to your door. Because Susan Essentials is certified in plant-based healing, we're permitted to offer you the best nutritional supplements on the planet. They're non-GMO and sustainably produced, and we take the guesswork out for you. Let Susan Essentials help you take control of your health today.
Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Community and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Hey, it's time to take charge of your health. I'm Bianca, your holistic life coach, and every Friday morning at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, I'm here on the Female Solution to empower you to make choices that will assist your evolution to abundant health. I'm also blogging every Sunday evening at 8 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time at Soul Purpose Healing, where I bring you a spiritual chiropractic adjustment to bring you back into alignment with our Creator's love, compassion, and wisdom. Join me every Friday morning at 8 a.m. and Sunday evening at 8 p.m. for a time of unity, enlightenment, and love vibration. Shalom.
And we are back.
Okay, welcome back. Back to Soulful Solutions. Welcome back to Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green. Glad to have you with us today with my wonderful Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. What a wonderful guest we had. That was awesome. You know, there are childhood abuses all the time, and the majority of them are done by a family member.
That's the
Isn't
thing.
that
The
something?
abuse is
You
usually
know,
someone.
and they don't get the help they need.
Right. Well, one thing that happens is that the rest
Yes.
of the family doesn't want to address it and won't allow the child to address it. So you end up forced into silence. And especially if this family member is someone that is prominent in the community, well respected, the family doesn't want to damage their reputation. Or say in the case of a child that's abused by a teenage member of the family. Well, they don't want that teenager to end up, going to jail or some other life-altering course that could happen if you're just 16 or 17 or even 18 years old. So we end up protecting the abuser at the expense of the emotional well-being of the child. And there are many, both male and female, because I've had associates that were abused as children who are male. And it's the same thing. You're made to feel like it must be something you're doing, or either you're lying, which is the most traumatizing thing to have happen to you when you've been abused and not believed, or it's something you're doing. I've known people who maybe their boyfriends, their mother's boyfriend abused them, and they get accused of trying to seduce him or something crazy like that. And so mothers and daughters have fallen out about that kind of thing. You have situations where someone is a chronic abuser, maybe they're the grandfather who abused all of the children that they had and the nieces and nephews, and then they abuse the grandchildren. And there's that same abuser, and the family continues to pretend it's not happening or shove it under the rug. So you've got several generations of children that have been damaged by that same one person. And maybe that person is someone who is respected in the community.
Yes.
So you as a child, you're expected to just be quiet about it because you don't want to, because the family doesn't want to damage that person's reputation. And I believe that when someone is an abuser, they themselves need help. And I understand that just criminalizing them doesn't solve the problem, but you can't pretend like it didn't happen. That's the worst thing. We have to feel safe in the bodies that we're in, that we will not be violated.
Right.
And when someone is a violator, they need help and they need to be removed from people until they get appropriate help. Now, something that I've been thinking a lot about a long time, and that's, I mean, every crime that's committed, it comes from a person who, for whatever reason, was not able to stop themselves, or whether it was a crime of theft because they feared not having enough money, or the consequences of poverty, or just not able to withstand the perhaps poverty they were living, and thought this was going to give them a step up. Whatever crime they committed, it was an emotional condition and they need help. They need therapy. Just locking people up and not addressing why they did what they did doesn't help them or society, because it's not with the same damage. But then in terms of sexual crimes, that's another situation that, in my opinion, points to somewhere in their lives where they were damaged. So again, criminalizing them doesn't help them or the society. They can be behind bars and either be an abuser or be the recipient of abuse, but they still are going to be damaged. So whenever they're released, you have this damaged person, you send them back to the society, and then they have this stigma. So now they got to register as a sex offender. That still does not help them or the society. So what are your thoughts about making the jails that we have created to house people be houses of healing and therapy and help and nurturing, as opposed to punishment, giving people who are already in pain more pain because they acted out of pain? What are your thoughts on that? And the reason why I asked,
it's a real delicate area, Naima.
It is, because people are angry. You know, when they've been hurt, they're angry and they want that person to suffer, but suffering presupposes that the person acted out of malice, when instead they acted out of sickness of some type, emotional, mental, whatever the case may be. So just giving them pain because they gave you pain, that doesn't help them or the society. That's my thought. And I'm asking you as a therapist because, you know, I've been working on creating and working with an elected official to create some kind of legislation that transforms our prison system so that it can actually be beneficial to those who do need to be away from the society because they're hurting people, but they need to get help while they're away from people and not just be given more pain so they can come out worse criminals, worse addicts, worse abusers than they were when they went in. That's my thought.
Well, again, you know, our society is not set. I mean, it would be wonderful if we have a rehabilitation system, you know, because that's what you're talking about, to rehabilitate that human and emotionally, so that they will be a person that you can cast back out into, you know, civilized society. But it is not. So a lot of the batterers and people that are, you know, they either stay in jail or continue to do what they do, even though they may be on that list of individuals. That's again systems in our government systems as well as our state are set up to rehabilitate. They're just set up to move one person to another area at a time, and and then release them back out into society, but not changing the person. That's just
Right.
like if you got a wild animal, you know what I'm saying, and you just put it in another area, you don't take the wildness out the area, the animal back out to do the same damage. So it is what it is. And yes, we can sympathize and empathize with this population, but unfortunately, psychopaths and sexual abusers, they come different types of upbringing and exposures in life. And those traumas did not get sorted. They did not get the help that they need because they either didn't seek it. And here we go. Now, here, one thing is not just sexual abuse, it's mental abuse, verbal abuse, and physical abuse as well. So it's all of these, because I'm sure that she was verbally and emotionally abused, including being sexually abused. Now, anyone that do not opportunity to say no, I don't want it, especially as a child.
Yes, as
No,
a
I
child.
don't want you touching, talking to me in this way.
Right. Well, that's another thing. I mean, if you're a child and you have parents that verbally abuse,
it's a big difference.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. We know that our systems are not.
It's lingering. It's lingering.
Yeah. I mean, we know that our systems are not designed to help, which is why we have to decide to change the system. We have to decide to change the system, which means we have to put people in positions who have the same mindset, people who understand. The people right now who run the systems don't understand. So this is why we have elections, to replace people with people who have the philosophy that will change the system. Just locking people up and giving them more pain does not help them or the society. So when we comprehend we're not helping anybody, our intelligence should make us choose a different way to handle a situation. If someone is damaged and they are causing pain because they're damaged, they need to be healed of the damage and restored. And there needs to be some type of reconciliation that happens between them and the ones that they abuse, the ones that they hurt. Just having someone spend 20 years in prison and they come out, but the pain that they caused is still existing in the heart of the person that they violated. So there has to be a holistic approach to this. This is a member of our society that is damaged from whatever happened because they were raised by drug addicted parents,
yes,
the verbally abusive parents, impoverished parents, whatever the case may be, but they were emotionally damaged and therefore they were misshapen, and they took that inner pain and inflicted on other people. And so we need to remove them from the society and restore them to health, emotional, mental, physical health. And then they need to, just like they do in the 12-step program and AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous, part of it is that you have to restore the relationship that you broke while you were in your state of inebriation and alcoholism. That person who violated someone, or however many people they violated, that next step needs to be that they restore the relationship, even if it was a stranger, they need to make some type of restitution,
Yeah.
some type of amending of what was broken, some type of acknowledgement that they caused pain. So all of that has to be a part of our rehabilitation system. Otherwise, we're just making money locking people up. And that's why it has become so corrupt, because some of the people, yeah, they need to be in there, because you can't have them in the society while they're in that state of mental and emotional dysfunction. But some people didn't. They just maybe didn't have enough money to get a lawyer that could show they weren't the person who did whatever crime. But because the system has become a money-making system, it has not been as diligent in making sure that the people who are put away are actually the ones who committed a crime. And so that creates more damage. All of these things can and must be removed. We have to have the will to do it. And we have to take the steps to do it. And people who don't understand it, they need to not be in positions of authority, because they don't have the internal spiritual understanding of what must be done with the human family. We have to put people in positions that have a deeper understanding of why we're here and what our obligation to each other is. Those who don't get it, they don't need to be in leadership. You know, just sit somewhere, something else, but you can't lead if you don't have vision. That's my thought on that. So I would love to see therapists like yourself and others,
Right.
be able to
And
help
again,
to be restored, as opposed to, you know, them being behind bars and just getting beaten by prison guards and sexually assaulted, and then they come out more damaged. That's not helping anybody.
right.
So,
It's not. It's not. You know, again, you know, our system is very challenged, is very, very challenged, and the individuals that can change them don't. You know, so we as a community, like, like this, gives people a sense of hope to let you know, if you've been abused, if you've ever been by someone at some time, know that that's not your life. That was an experience. Was an experience.
right.
You make a decision, just as Jennine. She said, "I couldn't no longer be a victim." You know what I'm
Right.
saying? If you continue to think you are a victim, then you will always be a victim. To move beyond, it's to move beyond the mindset is trauma by go. There's a new day, and your new day starts when you make that change. When you said that's enough, because when you thought as a child, but when you become an adult, you put away childish things, which means the things that's in your childhood has to come to and all you to begin a freedom adulthood. A lot of people are still living their childhood memories, childhood
Yeah.
traumas, and we call it the child, syndrome. When they get upset, when something's triggering them, right into that mindset. Like you said, we want to help them hurt other people, because a lot of hurt, and this is something that's been going on in our society, oh my goodness, a very long time. We should show. That's what the man in. You start with the man in the mirror, and you ask yourself, "Am I enslaved to anything that's disrupting my life?" Do I have a sense of peace, a sense of freedom to make a choice without having to consider someone else before I make that choice? And that's something that you have to do on an everyday level until you get comfortable with those that are with, if they have ever done another human being, because the thing about them are out here that have actually assaulted children.
Yes.
They don't, some people don't get sick, Naima. Okay? It's an everyday lifestyle for them. Everyday lifestyle to think this is a part of their life. And I'm not saying I'm making excuses for them. I'm just telling you. They think this is who they are. They don't even challenge that native thought of you know, I don't say craziness because really it's ill, it's sick. It's very, very sick minded. It's spiritually sick and it's mentally sick. You
So tell
know,
me this.
that's the main core here. So we're gonna take another break,
Yeah,
or
we'll
you
take
want to
a break.
keep talking because it's
We'll,
9:03.
yeah, we'll take a break. And I got a question when we come back. I know it's going to take a while to answer it. So we'll take a break and we'll come right back. And if you're on our switchboard, press 1. And we'd love to get your thoughts. We had an opportunity to hear from a very powerful sister, Jennine Bradford-Lee, shared her story and her book about the power of redemption, survival, and victory when it was against all odds. You need to go to Amazon and purchase the book, or you can go to her website, which was, I believe, JennineBradfordLee.com, and get the book Against All Odds. Very powerful story of overcoming.
Yeah.
And we'll be right back.
I'm gonna pick mine up today. Yes, yes.
Absolutely. Got to have it on your shelf. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show, as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. Listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Do you worry about finances, family, health, job, relationships? Are you in pain? Do you feel stuck? If you answered yes to any of these questions, help is available. Don't worry, you're not alone. It's part of the human process. You only feel this way because you haven't mastered the voices in your head. No hype, just down-to-earth, solid, workable tools and techniques that you can practice daily. It's really food for the soul. Whether you want to learn how not to worry about anything, reverse type 2 diabetes, publish a book, promote your product or service, or just make extra money. To take advantage of the deal of the day, go to zeldaspeaks.com or call 312-409-6619. Mention promo code The Female Solution and get free shipping. That's zeldaspeaks.com or 312-409-6619. Stop worrying today. Visit zeldaspeaks.com. Hi, I'm Naima Latif, executive producer of the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We are a part of the online network of Associated Internet Radio hosts, On Air. On Air empowers you with transformative news and interactive radio TV shows. This is such a wonderful time to be alive and to see our human family coming together as one community as a result of that powerful tool, the internet. We can now talk directly to each other all over the world. There's no need for conflict or misunderstanding. There's no need for violence to solve our differences. We can talk to each other face to face until we reach an agreement. On Air offers a fantastic global guide to communicators from all over the world who are using their internet platforms to inspire us to strive to be our best selves in order to become the kind, compassionate, loving people we were all born to be. Once we do that, we'll see planet Earth transformed into a place of peace. Subscribe to the recommended YouTube channels, Facebook pages, and podcasts created by these Voices of Enlightenment. On Air provides daily news briefs and a weekly magazine to keep you abreast of events and opportunities. On Air news affiliates in television, radio, and print share information, insight, and interviews with notable personalities. Go to onaireverywhere.com for a daily dose of uplifting news. We're on air everywhere, online all the time.
With a Place of Peace pop-up from Tucson Essentials, you were able to increase productivity, mental acuity, leaving you with higher energy and peace in just 20 minutes. We pop up at our office or yours. Taxes are higher than ever. Every day, thousands of our residents leave Chicago to shop in Indiana. Jobs are being lost, and businesses are relocated. Let's find a way to lower our taxes to encourage residents to continue living and shopping in our city. Let's rebuild. Let's restore Chicago. Vote for me, for mayor of the city of Chicago, and I will work hard to find solutions that matter. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message. Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
All right. Welcome back.
Oh, welcome to Soulful Solutions. With my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. Our technical dignity is really not good. I really need to redo this show all over again because there was too much interruption. Oh my goodness, and it still is. But anyway, I'm glad the viewers and listeners are still listening because things are much better. It was a lot of information that was lost this program. But again, thank you so much for listening and still sticking in there with us. So what was the question you had, Naima?
Well, the question that I had, I always hear that a person who commits a sexual assault, a person who is a molester or rapist, they cannot be helped. There is no therapy that can undo that. They're going to have that illness for the rest of their lives. That's what is always said. Like once a sexual abuser, always a sexual abuser. That doesn't sound right to me. It seems like whatever illness someone has, there's always a way to reverse it. There's always a therapy that can help. But that's what I'm always hearing, that's a crime where there is no rehabilitation. They're just always going to be sick in that manner where they abuse people and assault people sexually. What's the basis of that idea? Is that an established thought in the in the psychological community, in the therapist community, in the counseling community? Is that established as a fact or a thought that this is just what they are and they can't be helped? Or are there people saying, well, no, you can help them, there is therapy, but it just takes some different measures? What is the belief about those who commit sexual crimes?
On the severe trauma, depends on the severity of trauma. A sickness, for example, has a different makeup in their brain. They're not, it's like schizophrenia. They're not schizophrenic as far as diagnosis, but I'm saying the brain chemistry is different. The serotonins, the dopamines, all of those are different. Even the ego processes are different in a serial rapist. Now, if someone just, violates a person once for whatever reason, and that's something different. But something like that, like molest a child, rape a child over and over again, no, that's something going on mentally, mental illness in that individual. Can it be, you know, again, rehabilitated? It depends on the individual. It depends on what they want to do, because you can talk to a therapist all day long, but that doesn't mean that, you're going to change, because one has to change itself. No one can change that person. They have to acknowledge the truth and do something about it.
So that is literally a brain chemistry issue where the chemistry in their brain is different, and the impulses therefore are different. But it would seem that even if there is an imbalance, that it's correctable, even even biochemically. I don't know, with
It is. I'm not
medications,
right, but
or
I'm not saying it's not. It's just like, mm, there's not a repair system from being that's a criminal. Anything you violating, when you're violating another human being in any type of way, domestic, family, murder, those are violations. That means that person has no sense of what they call respect for life. That's in
they
their
don't
mind.
empathize with others as
There's
being
no
like
respect for
themselves
life.
there. Yeah. But it happened some, I mean, it
There's
developed
no
that
respect for life.
somewhere. Something happened inside of them that removed that capacity for empathy, whether it was early childhood abuse or something, you know, something caused them to be other than what a human being is without having been damaged. And this is my thought. I think that if we are able to change the idea that people are already born with a propensity for bad, then rather than us say you're born imperfect and you're always going to be imperfect, if we can look at it that you are born perfect and then circumstances misshape your perfection. So what do we need to do to restore you to your original perfection? I believe that if our thought was in that direction, we could then think of ways to help people that have been misshapen by whatever experience they had, whatever biochemical change they went through, whether it was, their eating, the drinking water, whatever it is that made them altered from their original state. I remember years ago reading a book called Mutant Message Down Under. And for people who've heard me talk about this before, okay, I'm probably said something about it on somebody else's show, but that's okay. I want to reiterate the thought that this group of people in Australia, where this woman who's, I think she was doctor or in the medical field, she went to visit and spent time with them. And what they told her is that human beings have mutated from their original form. The original form was a state of purity and spiritual purity, even to the point where, they retained just basic skills, even telepathic skills. And they said, we can communicate telepathically because we don't lie. So we don't mind if others enter our hearts and minds and see and hear what we're saying and what we're feeling, because there's no deception between us. human beings have been mutated from that original form of purity. So this is why they commit crimes against others. And now when she spent time in that community, there was no verbal assault of anyone. No, I mean, the children were treated with such love and kindness. The relationships between people was just, there was nothing but love there and encouragement. Everybody felt beautiful. And now, according to the society's concept of beauty, maybe none of them might have met that, but within that community, everyone was loved. Everyone was applauded for their gifts, their skills, their talents. There was nothing but joy, even though they didn't have the material comforts of so-called Western society. She went with them on what they call a walkabout, where they just spent time going across the land and having kind of like an adventure and observing and living off the land. But what she observed was a mental health among them that was just superb. No one felt bad or depressed or sad ever, because there was always encouragement within that community. No one was looked down upon. And she said, and they told her that this is the original state of humanity before you mutated into what you are today. People that are mean and cruel and hurtful. So you have to be restored to your original purity so that you can live in a state of love the way you were meant to be. And she, of course, found it fascinating, because coming from Western society, raised in America and all that, that idea was alien. You know, the idea that we grow up with is something wrong with you. You got faults,
Right.
you got sins, you got all this stuff. So we don't grow up with the idea that we are perfect beings before we enter a world of distortion that hurts us. And then we learn to hurt others. So I believe that we can eliminate all criminal behavior if we can reverse what happened to people and treat what happened to people that caused them pain and therefore caused them to give pain. And of course, that means that all the systems in the society that reinforce pain have to also be corrected. I mean, the practice of finding people money because they don't have money. Oh, you can't pay this bill? Okay, then we're going to charge you more money because you don't have money. I mean, that's abuse. There's so many things that we accept as normal that are abusive, just like a person in an abusive household accepts someone coming into their bedroom at night and touching them without their permission or consent, but they can't stop it. We have that same kind of thing in our society. We are accepting abuse, believing we can't stop it, but it is abuse. So at what point do we as individuals and as a collective decide we are not going to accept abuse as a normal way of life anymore? It's the same thing. So I think when we can look at what we're doing and see that the way we live, the way we have set up our society is abusive, then we can address it and change it. But as long as we accept it as if we don't have a way to stop it, then we're like the abused person who won't get therapy and won't change their life because they won't address the fact that they're in pain and have been hurt. That's my thought on that. So I'm looking at changing the way we look at people as if they can't be repaired and they just have to be punished and put away and cause more damage. I don't think that is helpful, because at some point, some people get out and, like you say, they're coming out of prison worse than when they went in, and now they're inflicting pain on the society, and everybody has to live in fear. That doesn't make any sense. We should not be living in fear. We should repair the people that are damaged so that we don't have to fear them. That's what I believe. So we've got some callers on the line, and as Dr. Debbie listens to my little soliloquy, her sound system is a little delayed, but I'm going to open a mic. Area code 773-450. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your thoughts about overcoming abuse and the wisdom shared with us by our guest today, Jennine Bradford-Lee, author of Against All Odds. Give us your thoughts.
Because this type.
I know. It's a bit challenging today. Yes, greetings.
Grand Rising, y'all.
Grand
Y'all
Rising.
greetings. Y'all morning, y'all.
Yes.
Yes, it's over there. You know what's interesting, Naima? You hit it right on the nail on the head. You know, everything they do traditionally is totally back. I was talking to a friend, and she was looking for, we were talking about relationships. People don't even get in relationships for the right reason. For the most part, based on a male-dominated society, it's all about sex. When you met her and she's cute, let's go to bed, baby. Well, how in the hell is physical intimacy number one on the list when you don't even know somebody's mind, spirit, or their purpose? That's absolutely ridiculous. So when society treats us like we're some sort of looking at television commercials, and then they show you, let's just get together and date each other. For what particular reason? First of all, if you don't have any purpose for living, how can you be of any advantage to anybody? We have these false relationships that are built on weakness. Instead of two strong individuals knowing their individual purpose, joining together so they can make something big, you got people that are weak that just lean on you and break you down. That's not a relationship. What's wrong with people? I mean, so you have to start off with, because as a matter of fact, we did a program that we entitled Finding Romance. But then after we finished the program, it changed titles to Poetic Romance. Because romance has nothing to do with sex like people think it is. Romance has more to do with meeting your creator, becoming a friend, and finding your purpose of being on this earth. Once you know your purpose and have a directive, now you can begin to move forward. But society has all this confusion, competition. You have bitterness and people talking about you because of your features on your face and all this foolishness. And in society, you have all this competition. Oh, look at what I got versus what you don't have. I mean, what the hell is that? The car is the same. It's just transportation, whether it's an old car or a brand new car. So what's the big deal because I bought a 2023? Does that make me better than you? I don't think so. Even if I walk down the street or ride a bike, you're not better than me. But society has created this foolish competition among everybody. Look at presidencies and how they compete against each other. And neither one of the candidates are even telling the truth. But they spend $1 billion and somebody wins the race. Usually they may be even a billionaire like J.B. Pritzker. They win the election, but how many votes did they buy? So we need to change all of that. That's why the education system is screwed up. And the work situation is screwed up. And business is screwed up because originally society was created and people worked in unity with nature and wanted to assist each other. We had like a communal life where everybody helped each other. It was about helpfulness, not about getting over on each other. Where did that come from? So we need to change our consciousness, our minds, and our spirits and get in order with the we, us, and our existence and get away from that me, mine, I stuff that's going to kill you.
I totally agree.
But they got to change that traditional foolishness. Look at television. You have children on TV that talk back to their parents. Is that a good way to raise your children? Let them do that? Listen to somebody make a joke talking back to their parents, and then they're going to mimic what they see on TV? Do you really think that's going to raise your children? Let television tell them how to curse and all this other stuff? I'm just saying it's all messed up. They don't teach you any true values that are going to make us one. And the last piece is this. We're doing a piece of a ministry is called Grace Communal Life. So they have no religion attack. Religion is a problem because people compete. My God's better than your God. What kind of foolishness is that? They had that in the Bible, though. They went through that. Hey, you build this to your God, and I'll build my God. They went through that. But I'm saying, how foolish is that? I don't care who your God is. We have to live in harmony because we are human beings. Until we realize that and start seeing each other as help, we'll just keep bumping heads. But people and programs like this that are busting out the truth, and so make your own conscious change within your own world and be a part of the change. Do it. We appreciate you.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate you as well. And
Thank you.
I absolutely agree. Once we change the intention of our actions to a desire for the well-being of others, then everything else will change. We have to change the intention in our hearts. If my intention for everything that I do is a desire for the well-being of others, then there's certain things I will not participate in or condone or support because they're hurting people. So it's a change of heart that many people have already experienced and understand. And as you said, none of this makes sense when we see that people are promoting abusive behavior, disrespectful behavior of children in the name of, what's funny, and children start imitating vulgarities and things like that. So we have an opportunity to teach our children from a higher spiritual perspective. And I agree, religions sometimes can be a problem when you have the attitude of, I'm better than you, and my people who follow this religious belief are better than you people who follow another religious belief. Therefore, God likes us more than you. That's ridiculous. And so sometimes that itself is a problem. But we have an opportunity to deconstruct all of that and to raise a different kind of child that can see the fallacy of all of these behaviors that are hurtful. We can raise a child with absolute truth, saying, this does not look right, does it? Isn't this hurting someone? Therefore, how can we do this differently? Because our desire is for the well-being of others. Anything that doesn't fit that model should not be. It should be remade, reconstructed, redone. But we can do that. We can change the society from the way it is and transform it to the way it should be. We have to change the thought, as you've said. And we can do that when we admit that what we're experiencing should not be, because it's causing pain. And we're not here on earth to suffer. We're not here to cause suffering. We're not here to condone suffering. We're not here to accept suffering. We're not here to suffer. So we can create a society where there is no suffering, but we have to look at what happened to the people who have caused pain. What happened inside of them? And there are people who've done tremendous damage. We've got mass shooters, we've got people who do murder suicide, or what Dr. Debbie calls murder-cide, killing themselves, their whole families. We've got people who are coming back from wars and they're so emotionally broken that they can't function. And at any moment they might just explode, and who knows what they may do, kill up their whole family, and people going to a parade and shooting up. I mean, you have people who have mental illness, but just throwing them in a cage for the rest of their lives doesn't repair the damage to their soul. And if we care about all of life, we should want to repair a damaged soul. And that is what all of our institutions should be about. Because that's why people are hurting people. Something happened to them. As Jennine spoke about her life as a child and being victimized by the adults who were supposed to be protecting and nurturing her, that's very damaging. She made a choice to get help. But how many people don't have help available, or don't know how to seek it, or don't even know that what happened to them is not normal, and how they're acting out is not normal? People who commit assaults all the time as a way of life, like Dr. Debbie said, they don't know that there's something misshapen that happened inside of them. They're just hurting people until they get caught and then go to prison. But the damage that they did, now they've hurt people who end up hurting people. So we have to repair the souls of people who have been injured. And we have to repair those that they have hurt. And then we have to repair systems that perpetuate pain. We can do this. This is the time for us to do it because now we understand that we have the power to change. Just as Jennine understood she had the power to change her circumstances. First, you have to know that you have the power to change. And then you will do the things necessary to create the change. So it's time for our last break. And if you're on our switchboard, we'll take your call after this break. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call, 515-605-9325, and press 1 so that your number lights up, little hand goes up on the switchboard, and we'll open your mic and get your thoughts. We'll take more calls when we come back after this break. And if you'd like to join us visually on Facebook, YouTube, go to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. You'll see our face right there, smiling. And we want to get your thoughts. Feel free to write in your comments, and we will certainly share them with our listening and viewing audience. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solution Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak.
Hi, this is John Alexander. Hi, this is John Alexander.
And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/TheMediaConnectionTV.
YouTube it. We'll see you soon.
There are people who choose to make a positive difference in the world. Our job is to bring you their stories to motivate you to do the same. Join us each week, host John Alexander and Naima Latif, as we bring you the educators, entertainers, elected officials, religious leaders, and community activists whose works are transforming this world. Find out how you can make a difference too. Be inspired. Watch The Media Connection. Mondays at 5 p.m. and Tuesdays at 12 noon on Cable TV Channel 19 in Chicago and other cities. Check your local cable listings.
Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed, into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Delta Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Monday, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure to send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit DeltaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. We'll make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening.
Crime in Chicago continues to increase. Communities and politicians must come together to make a change. No one person can solve these problems by themselves, but I believe together we can make progress. Let's provide job training, economic growth, and invest into our 77 communities. Let's rebuild and restore Chicago. Vote for me for mayor of Chicago. I'm Dr. Willie Wilson, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Willie Wilson for mayor.
Tucson Essentials is re-engineering what health looks like by leading you to the best wellness initiatives in the world. Start your coaching plan today and create a new paradigm of health. Click here to learn more.
All righty, we are back for our last 20 minutes of the female.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
So we've got some
Yes.
callers on the line, and now I've got a question for our callers, because I know that this is, especially if a person has been a victim of a crime, and if they've known somebody that's dealt with, sexual assault or that sort of thing. Sexual assault is such a personal crime. It's a violation of your personhood, and I mean, more than theft or anything like that, it is a violation of your temple, a violation of your soul. And so when someone has been accused of that, and we've seen very prominent, popular people be accused of this, and sometimes, first thing, people don't want to believe it. Oh, everybody's just lying. Oh, they're just saying it because that person's famous. We hear that. And then once it's proven or whatever that this person violated people, there's such a deep feeling of revulsion towards them, because no one likes the thought of being violated. So it's almost as if you can never be forgiven for that crime once you have committed it. And I don't know if that's because people identify with a feeling of having been violated, if that has happened to them, and therefore they feel like, this person should be condemned forever, on the registry as a sex criminal, whatever the case may be. But is that the way we should handle people who have violated others? Yes, it is a very personal violation. Yes, it makes you very angry. Yes, it's very damaging. You feel the damage from the depths of your soul. But if a person was to receive help, therapy, and made restitution, do you think that such a personal crime could be forgiven if part of their consequences was that in some way they made restitution to the person that they violated? And we know people who paid off folks, to keep quiet. That's not the same thing. That's acknowledging that you hurt them and making some type of financial payment, because they're going to need to pay for therapy to restore themselves. So I think there should be some finances involved in that. And rather than them just, spending a lifetime in jail, the perpetrator needs help. Is that a way we could handle that kind of a violation? That's my question. So let me go to our phone lines, and if you've got a comment, please press 1. We want to get your thoughts on that. It's a very, very sensitive topic, and our guest today, Jennine Bradford-Lee, was very transparent, very open in sharing her story, but her openness would help empower some people who might be sitting in the silence of shame, feeling like it's their fault that they were violated. And we have to overcome that. But we also, more than just punishing the perpetrator, we need to repair the damage inside of them that caused them to damage others. That's my thought. So let me go to area code 312-671, Grand Rising, and let us know what your thoughts are about. Is it possible to forgive someone who has violated another and give them help so that they can re-enter society and society doesn't have to fear them? Is that possible to create such a system? What are your thoughts on that?
Hallelujah. Wayo and Yashalom, Grand Rising, and Assalamu Alaikum to you and my family. This is Brother Minister Robert Floyd Plump, Chicago, Illinois, and yes, we can. We are God's will. The greatest example was keeping it simple and real. Yahshua, who most know as Jesus Christ, said, and he meant what he said and said what he meant. Father, I forgive them, for they know not what they do. And I've had, I would say, brothers and sisters to violate me in different ways. Yet I felt that the power in God's will, and Yahshua, who most know as Jesus Christ, was the greatest example. So I have to keep it simple and keep it real. You're either part of the problem or you're part of the solution. And part of the solution is to admit that you did something wrong to another person, and you really, caused them not only pain, but possibly even financial disaster. And yet, I've experienced that in a more personal way, but yet it's too much to even explain it in a little few words. But I wanted to share this thought too about the fact that I'm glad that the Female Solution, you are the number one network, in terms of radio and TV and blog communication, which is a part of unity in the community. And I love you for being a part of the Black and Black Love. And also, information is the key to success. For Black people, Black education is the best of the best, so they can learn better, know better, and do better, and be themselves. And we're going to be celebrating my Earth Day birthday tomorrow, November the 18th.
Oh, really?
77 years young.
Wow.
Hallelujah. Yeah.
That was quick.
Okay.
Seemed like we just did it last year. Wow.
Amen.
It is fantastic. You all are fantastic because, see, all you sisters that come on this program, including your guest today, I know that you are 23. See, a healing is not even for the person that perpetrated the crime. The healing is the person that forgive. So that's why you have to keep it real. So, and forgive in a healing equals to 23. So you all are different. Everybody's different, but you're like a baby. I'm not gonna let you get away from me because I'm a manifesto, and I want to share that with everyone at Lake Grove Village, 3515 South Cottage Grove, first floor. And for more information, just go to today and tomorrow at the Harold Washington Foundation.info. Remember, Mayor Washington said we must pump the whole community. So we are pumping it up in peace, love, unity, marketing people, promoting freedom, justice,
77 years.
And,
wow.
And people can reach me direct at 312-671-2773. So we can work out the solutions to our problems. And we all got problems. But it's still, the fact is that it takes a village to raise one child. And no one can raise a kid. The kid,
except for the mother goat.
The kid is the wrong all the time. But see, right, help helps us too. See, right helps us all the time. Wrong hurts us, and right helps us. So let's help each other as brothers and sisters and forgive one another.
I agree.
Because I was a part of the Million Man March.
Yes.
Still with the program of the continuation of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and atonement, prosperity, and also respect is everything.
Yes.
You got to respect the word. The word of God says to love God and to love your father and your mother and the elders. So I'm an elder now.
Yes. Well, congratulations. Congratulations on 77 years.
7 o'clock at Lake Grove Village tomorrow from 3515 South Cottage, and then we're gonna be right back on November the 27th.
Well, we thank you so much, Minister Plump. You can tell us more about that one as we get closer to that date. But we want to thank you so much, and we'll take one thing at a time so people have enough to remember. But thank you so much, and we congratulate you for 77 years. That is powerful and still going strong. Absolutely. You want to help Minister Plump celebrate that 77 years. That says a lot. But you know, he mentioned the Million Man March, and I think that was, I remember watching that, and I think that was a very healing moment for the relationships between men and women, a lot of broken families, and for men to acknowledge the hurt that came from discarding their families, the mothers of their children, leaving them to suffer alone, a lot of pain that women felt. And so having that public acknowledgement, that was a very powerful thing. You know, I would, and I understand a lot of white people feel like, look, I wasn't involved in slavery. I wasn't involved. That was my people, my folks just immigrated here 50 years ago. We're not guilty. We're not responsible. I get that. But beyond reparations, it would be nice if we could have some type of a mass acknowledgement to once and for all acknowledge that this was done so that there can be a healing. I think that was brilliant, the Million Man March, because I think that there's a lot of pain in our community that comes from people not taking their responsibilities, not acknowledging the hurt that has caused the children when men are absent, the dangers that we suffer, the drug abuse, the crime. So I think it was a brilliant step in a mass healing that needs to continue. But I think that needs to happen on a larger scale, even in America. The crimes that have been committed against the poor, the crimes that have been committed against people of various ethnicities, I think it has to be acknowledged. The businesses that have exploited people because they didn't have money or didn't have resources or didn't have the language skills. I think there needs to be a truth and reconciliation council set up where people can acknowledge the hurt. And if we can do that for everyday people, then those who've committed crimes of violence and violation of people, they can do it as well. We have to have a culture of admitting wrong and seeking reconciliation and repair, not just punishment, because that doesn't help. If someone hurt people because they were hurt and you give them pain and then they give more pain, then the cycle continues. And that's what we have, a continuing cycle of pain. The cycle of pain has to stop. So I really applaud our guest today, Jennine Bradford-Lee, for coming forth with her book, Against All Odds, because you can survive against all odds. You can be raised by dysfunctional parents, drug addicted parents, sexual assaulting parents, relatives, neglectful parents. You can be in that household, and that combination of things, it would destroy you. But you can survive against all odds. And she excelled in school, excelled in life, and is raising children in a healthy home atmosphere. It can happen, but we have to admit when we've been damaged on the inside. And we have to, like Minister Plum said, the forgiveness is what heals the person who's been violated. The forgiveness is what heals them. As long as you're holding on to anger, then it's going to continue to hurt you and you're going to relive it again. As Jennine was talking about, feeling like you're reliving it all over again when people don't acknowledge that they hurt you, or they won't believe you, or they're insensitive. When she went to the police and they were, oh, well, if you don't have any evidence, like, it's a pair of soiled panties, we can't help you. Because and what happens with police, rather than them feel empathy and emotion, they are overwhelmed. They see so much hurt. They see so much damage. They see so much horrific treatment of other human beings. They learn to deaden their feelings so that they're not traumatized. So they can't give you nurturing that you want when you go and report a crime. They can't, because they've shut down as a way for their own emotional and psychological survival. That's why you need therapists in positions, in places where people are incarcerated, not armed guards. You need people who don't have to shut down their emotions because they're too overwhelmed. You need people who are trained to help the damaged, not people who are just taught to punish and be non-emotional and non-feeling and non-empathetic. That's not helpful. I understand what happens to police. If I had to watch murders every day and killings and rapes all day long, how would that affect my soul? That's why I don't watch it on television. It affects your soul. It affects the chemistry in your brain. So I understand why they become cold. They have to protect themselves from trauma. But these are not the people that need to be around people who have been traumatized and are doing time because they've hurt someone. They need to have access to help so they can come out and help others. That's what has to happen. So we thank all of you all. Thank you, Obadiah. Thank you, Minister Plum. Thank you all who are on our switchboard listening, and those who have been watching and are able to absorb the thoughts and make a decision about how we want to change things so that we can help those who need help. So, Dr. Debbie, last words before we go. Maybe your system will give you a chance to speak a bit and we can be heard.
I was trying to get some words in there.
I was giving you a chance to
I
try to
didn't
get it together.
get much words in there on. Yes, as I said, the goal is to this is an epidemic in the world. It's just been going on for a very long time. It is nothing strange to us. The wickedness or the the unsettledness of our society. We try not to label things, but it is real. It causes pain. Pain causes more pain. That's the way it's designed. Fear is one of those things that come in many different shapes and covers in situations, circumstance. However, if you find yourself in a situation like this, whether you are the abuser or the abusee, do something about it. I mean, I don't know, when you're a child, it's hard to make decisions. But again, as time goes on, you get stronger and you then move away from something that is tearing you down. Know that if you was a product of abuse in any type of way, experience, it's happened, but grow and allow yourself to evolve into something greater. Because the worst thing to do is miss it, even when it's not happening. And it's constantly is we experience these thoughts that's so deep inside our minds, in the corridors of our heart, and you are enslaved to anything that doesn't make you feel good. Don't allow yourself to stay in that dark place. Reach for a greater day, a greater light, and never give up. Never give up, no matter what no matter what they do, no matter what they think. Never give up, because it's easy. Because no one can feel what you feel. And even though, again, we want to assist and help those who are in this position to harm others, but I must say this: the person has been violated, their lives are forever changed and shattered. And a violation can cause another violation. So again, your descendant children, just like Jennine did, choose something wonderful, choose something that is going to build, and you will be able to cut that curse, dismantle that generational thing that constantly kept from growing into the peaceful person that you are, and you back over your life. Because the kingdom of God suffers by violence, is
90
taken by force. And that's just what it means. You are, and you have the kingdom of God that dwells inside of you. So take your life back. God bless you.
Take your life back. Amen. See you
And
tomorrow.
sorry for the interruptions.
Well, we'll
Have to do
invite her
this
back.
show again.
Yes, we'll.
Thank you, Facebook. Love you so much. Too.
All right. Join us
Thank you so
tomorrow.
much.
And we'll be back
Yeah.
on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show, Health and Well-Being with Viata. See you then.